I just want to spend a minute talking about how the workshop came to be. It started actually as a half-day session at the 2023 OCB Summer Workshop. Christina, Jessica, and I convened this session. Bob spoke at this session, the first speaker. And so it just started as this idea that gained some traction in the community, which was fantastic because that's how the OCB workshop sessions actually operate. You propose an idea from or solicit ideas from the community, and then you vote on what is what topics you'd really like to hear about. So this definitely rose to the top. And so we had a half-day session with about 4 or 5 speakers. Liz was there, Liz Chamberlain and Yap Ninehouse were also there. And so this is what led to soliciting putting in a proposal for this activity back in 2023, which was then funded. And since then, we were funded, and then we had some lead-up activities to this workshop right here. This is going in reverse chronological order from the top. So our first speaker was Christoph Rabui, where you see there he is, back in March. And we've had a series of other webinars. Thank you again to all of our previous webinar speakers and participants. And these are all lead-up activities to our workshop. So now you're here. Thank you for traveling so far, those of you who did. What can you do now that you're here? Well, we want to hear from you. So please contribute your perspective. We have several breakout sessions. There are many opportunities for chatting over coffee. Your lunch today, you will have assigned tables to facilitate networking and ice-breaking activities. We'd really like to hear from you. You can email us with your ideas. Please do. We want to hear from you. We want to talk about and we want to understand and brainstorm what are some of the grand challenges for our field. Have we all come to consensus? Are we all talking about the same 4 or 5 topics when we're talking about grand challenges? That would be fantastic to know that. We have breakout discussions, so I'd like you to take notes. Scribe those notes. We have a participants folder where each of your breakout sessions, there's a folder where you can take your notes. There's also a folder to upload papers that you're really interested in. If you're doodling and you're drawing, please take photos of what you've drawn and upload them and put them into the participants folder so we don't lose track of your thoughts, okay? And we have some target products and deliverables. So near the end of this workshop, we'd really like to assign project and section leads, or if you've come up with another deliverable that you're very excited about, we'd like to hear about that and help organize. So we need to get your contact information for anyone who wants to stay involved and set up writing schedules, for example, for the year. So please, if you're here, we want to hear from you. So please contribute. And Mentipool or Liz, I think, is going to do some of the results for this. Okay.
There we go.
You want?
Yeah.
I'll just stand next to you.
Yeah. I'll try not to move around too much. Let's see where we can put this and it'll be heard. All right. Well, I see some of you have, most people, it looks like, have responded already to our first question, where we're getting now to know you and your leaky deltas a little bit. Some have attended OCB in the past. Many of you have not, so that's great. So really building a new community here. And then we had some, what is OCB, which Heather has now answered. So let's move on to the next one. What do you think of when you hear leaky deltas? Here you can type in words and it's going to generate a word cloud. So we have carbon and sediment as some of the forerunners. And then we have both burial and export as competing secondary ones. Yeah, reflexes, remineralization. Very cool. Teehee. Avulsion, some geomorphology terms, chemistry terms, a lot about fluxes and movement, I think. All right, let's take a look at the next question. What is your favorite leaky delta? Here you can drag over a pin. Oh, this is testing my geography knowledge. Wow. Well, yeah, some great diversity of answers here. And of course, Mississippi is a big leader here too, partly, I'm sure, because we're based here. Ganges Brahmaputra looks like it got some answers. All right. Okay, next question. What is the most neglected leaky delta? Maybe it's also your favorite, maybe it's a different one. All right, so different.
Yeah.
But still some repeats as well. All right, last question. And we're going to think about this more in the breakout sessions and throughout the workshop. But let's start now. What are the grand challenges for leaky deltas? You can write in responses, and I believe you can also vote or thumbs up responses that you like by others. All right.
All right.
Cool. Well, all great things that we'll discuss in the next few days.
Yes. So keep
So-
these in mind for your first. So we also want to share out, you all were asked to take a survey this past week. We had some questions for you about what you wanted to take away from the workshop. So I wanted to share the results from, I think this is from Friday, just a couple of days ago. What would you like to take away from the workshop? So many of you want to use this workshop as a networking opportunity. You also want to work on proposals, new collaborations. And there are about half of you who'd like to work on co-authorship of this review article that we'd like as a deliverable. And then there were some other responses like learn best practices, learning, how they'd like to observe the writing process and look for potential mentors and advocates. Okay, so this is a. And then specifically about these end products you'd want to participate in. Many of you would like to participate in this review article. And then the rest of it is distributed between these other 4 or 3 end products. This we thought, and we'd really like to hear from early career scientists, students, postdocs, to write perhaps an EOS perspective article. Many of you are, again, interested in working actively on proposal writing during this workshop, which is fantastic. And then we were also thinking that if we had some sort of illustration or graphic art, perhaps we could convey the importance of our work in a different way. So I'm going to get to the Delta Doodles in just a second. So just hold that thought. And then, so for the first breakout session, you are all going to be assigned to a group, and we have a series of questions for you to work through. And for the breakout session for day 2, you're going to self-select between 4 topics. You want to work on biogeochemistry, geomorphology, ecosystems, or modeling. One topic that's not on here is perturbations or stochastic events, because they impact all of them. And so you're going to have to pick your poison if you for your particular niche with respect to extreme events. And then there's some more. There's modeling. Some want to switch between biogeochemistry and geomorphology, which you're welcome to do, and this idea of human dimensions. And this was your doodle or word cloud from your survey results from last week. And you can see that some of the same keywords from the poll that you just took this morning, a couple of minutes ago, to what you answered last week still hold, which is great. So we're focused and we're on target, is what I'm taking away from this. Stanley is shaking his head. No, we're not. Yes, we are. Carbon, river, deltas, fluxes, cycling, geomorphology, knowledge, mangroves, sequestration, uptake processes. This is what we're here to do today. And we're going to get started also by introducing our Delta doodles. These packets will be out there during coffee break so that you can have a hard copy and write down your ideas if you have an epiphany during a talk. Just had a great idea, you want to jot it down. You can write it on your worksheet, but we'd really like to have them up here. Okay. So we have 3 that we've come up with. If you come up with something, a graphical way to represent our ideas, please do. So we've got delta, a top view, top-down view of a delta. Okay, we'd like you to sketch your discussion outcomes here, depending on which part of the delta you're working on or you have an idea about. This only extends to the inner shelf, but maybe you want arrows here that go down into the slope and abyssal plain. We've also got the delta in cross-section, okay, subaqueous and water column, subaerial delta in salt marshes, got your cliniforms, your slope break. And then we've got a stomal diagram to relate spatial scale with temporal scale. Okay. So throughout this workshop for the next 3 days, please jot down your ideas on this packet that you can pick up during the coffee break and on here, right? So that we can transform your ideas into some figures. Any questions about this? Okay, so let's get into our workshop. Day 1 is packed. So we need all of your attention. We need all of your focus. We need all of your energy. We're going to start out with some talks on biogeochemistry and perturbations. If there is time after the talk for a quick question, you can ask it, but generally we're going to save it for panel discussions. Speakers, you have a timer. Okay. And your moderator is going to be sitting there, me, for these first 2 talks is going to be holding this. And it's going to count down. And I'm going to stand up when it gets to 1 minute, just so that you know where you are in the in your talk. And then it'll ring. Okay. We're going to head into our networking lunch, again, where you're assigned tables. And then we're going to head into part 2. This is where we're going to get into talks about ecosystems. Going to head into your first breakout session, your poster session, where we will have hors d'oeuvres during the poster session. Yes. Okay. I'd also like to welcome members from the Baton Rouge Community College. If you wouldn't mind standing up or waving, thank you so much for attending and being a part of our activities. Thanks very much. So welcome. Please, if you're going to be here for the whole day, please participate. We want to hear from you. Okay. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you. Okay. First session, just to give you a quick flavor of the rest of the workshop. We're going to be talking about the influence of deltaic systems on biogeochemical cycling in the coastal zone, but also its impacts to the global ocean, because we know actually how much carbon, for example, deltas process. So we want to think about carbon transformations with associated macronutrients and trace elements. And we also want to think about movement, shore parallel, lateral transport, and burial efficiency. We're going to move into perturbations because these stochastic events will make a non-steady state system. How do you make a non-steady state system even more non-steady? I'm not sure. You can tell me. So we have different types of perturbations that are impacting our coastal zone, like hurricanes, increased storm intensity and flooding. And in this region specifically, we do have a lot of engineering. And then finally, at the end of the day, we're going to move into ecosystems. We're going to be talking about salt marshes, mangroves, primary production, seagrass, on carbon processing, and on geomorphology. And this is an image of how this deltaic feature, this delta has been transformed over 50 years. On day 2, we're going to get into new methods and geomorphology in our breakout. And this is motivated by the knowledge and understanding that your deltaic environment varies in space and time quite a lot. So we need to think about tools that may be employed in the open ocean don't work in deltas. So what can we use? New geochemical tools, new models, new satellites. Can we use machine learning? Big data science? What are some of these emergent technologies? What will help us make these new kinds of observations and connections to advance the field? And we want to think about integrating carbon cycle science into sediment transport studies or hydrological sciences, or vice versa, because it's a two-way street. Depending on the influence of rivers, tides, waves in regulating carbon fate, and also this hydrodynamic influence on carbon transport and burial. I'm going to move into day 3, where we're going to take a little break and go on a field trip. Pension, where are we going? Yes. What are we going to see? We're going to see a big physical model. Awesome. Then we're going to get into talks about modeling. Have our third breakout, where we're going to circle back to the topics that we talked about in the first and second breakouts. Has your notion of grand challenges changed after being here for 2 days? 3 days, really. And then we will close out day 3 with the workshop dinner. Over here, you'll need to self-organize to get to the dinner, but we can talk about that. We have a couple of days. And so with modeling, you know, the deltaic environment is complicated. I don't think I need to tell any of you that. So models can help us synthesize information and perhaps point to fallacies in our hypotheses as well. So how can we integrate observations and models? And I think a big outcome that group wants is to facilitate or have co-produced observation and modeling papers and proposals. I'm looking at the two of you. Yeah, okay. Day 4, you're going to finish out. And hopefully, if you're really motivated, assign section leads, get contact information, self-organize to complete your deliverables. All right? So I'm going to start out with biogeochemistry. And I'd like to introduce our speakers. Bob Aller is going to start with the plenary. Then we have short talks by Martial Taillefer and Marshall Bowles. Where are my speakers? Where's Marshall? Oh, there's Marshall. Okay, so Bob Aller is going to start with seasonal dynamics in deltaic sediments, or systems, excuse me. Thanks. Bob, you have 30 minutes.